again. It's a rich thing. It's again. It's a rich thing.
Hey guys, welcome back to Real Talk Cinema, your one stop channel for deep dives, behind the scenes secrets, and epic storytelling from your favorite movies. Today we're taking a magical sleigh ride into Whoville to explore the holiday classic How the Grinch Stole Christmas 2000, a film that mixes comedy, heart, and a green grump with a past. High atop the icy cliffs of Mount Crumpit, where the wind howled like an ancient spirit and the snow never seemed to melt, lived a creature not born of cruelty, but carved by it, the Grinch. His cave, hollowed out of stone and silence, stood like a fortress of solitude above the bustling valley of Whoville. From this lonely perch, he watched the village below come alive with ribbons, carols, laughter, and lights, a celebration of togetherness he had never truly known. The scent of roasted beast, the twinkling trees, the sound of families gathering, all of it echoed like a cruel reminder of what had once been denied to him. His heart, now shrunken and shielded by layers of sarcasm and pain, beat bitterly against the joy rising from below. He didn't just dislike Christmas, he despised what it represented: connection, warmth, belonging, things he had long been cast out from. And so he sat, with narrowed eyes and a clenched jaw, his thoughts poisoned not by evil, but by old wounds left to fester. As the Who's prepared to bask in holiday cheer, the Grinch plotted in the shadows, not to ruin their joy, but to silence the painful echoes of his own past. Down in the glowing heart of Whoville, where the streets curled like candy canes and every rooftop sparkled under a blanket of snow, lived a little girl named Cindy Lou, who small in stature but vast in thought. While the town buzzed with excitement, garlands being hung, presents stacked high, lights blinking in synchronized perfection, Cindy Lou stood quietly amidst the flurry, her wide eyes searching for something deeper beneath all the glitter. Unlike the other Whos, who rushed from one store to the next in a frenzy of ribbons and wrapping paper, Cindy felt a quiet emptiness growing behind the celebrations. She noticed how people had become more obsessed with buying the biggest gifts and winning decorating contests than sharing love or kindness. In her young heart, a question began to take root, one that no adult seemed to ask anymore. What is Christmas really about? While others were distracted by the sparkle, Cindy saw something, or rather someone, in the shadows of the town's memory, a forgotten figure on the edge of a snowstorm. And in her innocence, she didn't feel fear or judgment, but curiosity. Perhaps she thought the key to understanding Christmas wasn't in the lights or the feast, but in reaching out to someone who had been left in the cold for far too long. As the days crept closer to Christmas and the town's excitement reached a fever pitch, Cindy Lou Who found herself growing more distant from the frenzy. She watched as her neighbors climbed over one another to buy bigger gifts, brighter lights, louder songs, all chasing something they couldn't quite name. The warmth of the season, it seemed, had been buried beneath layers of tinsel and glitter. But what disturbed her more than the hollow cheer was the silence that surrounded one particular name, a name no one spoke above a whisper, and only then with fear or disgust: the Grinch. While others dismissed him as a monster, a menace, or worse, a joke, Cindy's curiosity turned into quiet defiance. Who was he really? Why did no one want to talk about him? Why did his story begin and end with hatred? She didn't see a villain, she saw a wound. And so, while the rest of Whoville wrapped presents and practiced carols, Cindy wrapped her thoughts around an idea far more daring. Perhaps the one everyone feared was the one most in need of understanding. In a town drowning in noise, she chose to listen to the silence surrounding the Grinch, and it changed everything. Long before he became a legend, whispered in fear, the Grinch had once been just a boy, awkward, different, and desperately trying to belong. He had arrived in Whoville under strange circumstances, a green child with odd habits and a heart full of hope. But in a town that prized conformity wrapped in perfect bows, he was an outsider the moment he smiled. As he grew, so did the cruelty of those around him. The children laughed at his clumsy ways, the adults looked through him. And when he finally dared to feel joy, when he made a handmade gift and shaved his face just to impress the girl he secretly adored, Martha May, the laughter turned into something sharper. On that fateful school day, as jeers filled the classroom and broken pieces of his heart scattered like ornaments on the floor, something inside him snapped. Humiliated not for what he had done, but for who he was, the young Grinch ran. He climbed Mount Crumpet, not to escape the world, but to escape the pain of ever trying to be part of it again. And from that day on, Christmas became not a season of joy, but a symbol of everything that had shattered him. His exile wasn't born from hatred, but from heartbreak. And no one had ever dared to ask why. In a town where tradition was sacred and sameness celebrated, Cindy Lou Who's bold suggestion struck Whoville like a snowball through a stained glass window. As the townspeople gathered to select their annual holiday cheermeister, the figurehead of festivity, the embodiment of everything Whoville held dear, names were tossed around with predictable cheer. But then, soft and steady, Cindy stepped forward and uttered a name that made every ribboned head turn: the Grinch. Gasps rippled through the crowd like wind through a forest of candy canes. Jaws dropped, mugs of hot cocoa trembled, and for a brief frozen moment, even the twinkling lights seemed to flicker. The Grinch? That green menace? The one who hadn't stepped foot in town since he was a child? But Cindy didn't flinch. Her eyes, filled with conviction far beyond her years, challenged the fear in their hearts. Maybe, she said gently, what he needs is a little kindness. Maybe what Christmas needs is a little forgiveness. The mayor sputtered in disbelief. The townspeople murmured behind her back, but the seed had been planted, and in that instant, small, quiet, defiant, the true spirit of Christmas began to stir, not in the lights or songs, but in the idea that even a broken heart could be invited home. With great reluctance and a sarcastic growl, the Grinch descended from his cold solitude atop Mount Crumpet, dragged not by duty, but by a flicker of something long buried, the ache of being wanted. Cindy Lou's unexpected invitation had cracked open a door he had kept bolted shut for years. Dressed in an ill-fitting sweater, tangled in blinking lights, he stepped into Whoville not as a monster, but as an honored guest. For a fleeting moment, something extraordinary happened. He laughed. Genuinely. The Who's clapped and cheered, placing crowns and tinsel on his head, feeding him puddings and praise. The warmth was unfamiliar, terrifying, and intoxicating. For the first time in a lifetime, he wasn't looking in from the outside. But joy, for the wounded, is never without danger. As the festivities swelled, so did his anxiety, the noise, the expectations, the very mayor who once humiliated him, now mocking him again with a gift meant to sting, not celebrate. Old wounds ripped open under the weight of new eyes, and the walls he had let fall began to rise with fury. The laughter twisted into echoes of childhood cruelty, and in a flash of panic and pain, the Grinch lashed out. Tables overturned, decorations torn down, not out of hate, but out of a heart overwhelmed. It wasn't just a tantrum. It was a man drowning in memories, screaming in the only language his pain remembered. As the final ornament fell, and the once cheerful square descended into stunned silence, the Grinch stood at the center of the wreckage, a green figure trembling not with victory, but with shame. The joy that had touched him, however briefly, now felt like a cruel trick, a trap that had snapped shut the moment he let his guard down. With the remains of the Christmas tree smoldering behind him, and the laughter of the Who's replaced by gasps and tears, he turned away, eyes burning not with anger, but with something far more tragic, confirmation. He had always believed he didn't belong. And now, once again, he felt the weight of every rejection, every childhood insult, every door that had ever closed on him. Crawling back up the snowy slope of Mount Crumpet like a wounded beast retreating to its cave, the Grinch's heart hardened further. Not even the small warmth Cindy Lou had offered could reach him now. He wasn't just angry, he was convinced that Whoville and the world would never accept someone like him. And so, in the silence of his lair, surrounded by shadows and echoes, he made a new vow not to be hurt again, and not to let them celebrate what he never had. Christmas wouldn't just be ruined, it would be taken, every gift, every light, every scrap of joy. If he couldn't belong to it, he would steal it. Driven by a bitter resolve sharper than the icy winds that whipped Mount Crumpet, the Grinch set his mind to a plan born from years of pain and rejection. If he couldn't be part of Christmas, then he would unravel it strand by strand, gift by gift, light by fading light. With deft hands hardened by solitude, he fashioned a makeshift Santa suit from tattered red cloth, piecing together a disguise that masked not only his green fur but his wounded soul. His sleigh, a rickety contraption cobbled from old sled parts and broken branches, sat poised at the edge of the mountain, ready to descend like a shadow over the town below. Beside him, his loyal companion Max, a scruffy dog with a heart as big as the Grinch's grudges, was reluctantly outfitted with a crooked antler tied to his head, a comical yet essential partner in crime. The night was cold and silent, save for the soft crunch of snow underfoot and the faint jingle of bells that the Grinch had stolen from a nearby shop, a mocking echo of joy he intended to steal away. As the clock struck midnight, the green thief took a deep breath, his eyes burning with a complex mix of bitterness and something almost like hope. Tonight, Hoover's Christmas would be his if only to prove that their joy was fragile, and their hearts, unlike his, could be broken. On the quiet, star-studded Christmas Eve, cloaked in darkness and the hush of sleeping Who's, the Grinch began his descent into the heart of the town he both loathed and longed for. Like a shadow slipping through cracks in the night, he slid silently down chimneys, his cold fingers snatching stockings filled with hopes and dreams. Each carefully wrapped present he ripped from under glowing trees felt like a small victory, proof that he was breaking the magic, shattering the joy that had always eluded him. He stuffed sack after sack, moving with a strange, gleeful energy, as if each stolen gift was a final piece of a painful puzzle falling into place. In his mind, with every ribbon torn and bell silenced, he was crushing Whoville's spirit, their laughter, their warmth, their Christmas itself. But beneath the surface of his triumph, a deeper, quieter tension simmered, one even the Grinch didn't fully understand. Because stealing things was easy. Stealing the feeling of Christmas? That was a far harder task, one that no amount of gifts could guarantee. As the first fragile light of dawn spilled over the snowy rooftops of Whoville, the Grinch watched from his mountaintop lair, his heart pounding with anticipation and a cruel satisfaction. He expected silence, despair, maybe even anger. The ruin he had so meticulously crafted would surely break their spirits. But instead, something entirely unexpected unfolded below. The Who's, stripped of their glittering trees, their wrapped treasures, and twinkling lights, emerged from their homes, not with tears or complaints, but hand in hand, their faces bright with something far deeper than any decoration could provide. In the cold morning air, their voices rose in unison, singing carols that echoed through the valley like a beacon of resilience and hope. They had lost everything he thought mattered, yet their joy was untouched, unbroken, pure. It was a celebration of connection, love, and the unyielding warmth of community. The Grinch, watching in stunned silence, felt a tremor within him, a crack in the icy fortress around his heart. For the first time, he glimpsed what Christmas truly meant. And it wasn't about the gifts or the glitz, it was about the spirit that no one, not even a green bitter outcast, could ever steal. In that breathtaking moment, high above the village he had tried to break, the Grinch's world shifted in a way no spiteful plan ever could. Watching the Who stand, united their voices, weaving a tapestry of hope and love. Despite his sabotage, something deep inside him began to unravel. The bitter armor forged from years of pain and loneliness started to crack, and for the first time, warmth bloomed where only cold had lived. His heart, once shrunken and encased in ice, swelled with an unfamiliar and overwhelming feeling joy. It grew, beating fiercely, pounding stronger than ever before, expanding not just in size but in understanding and compassion. The Grinch, the outcast, the green recluse, was no longer a prisoner of his past. The icy bitterness that had defined him melted away, replaced by a newfound connection to a world he had long rejected. In that instant, he wasn't just changed, he was reborn. And as the sun rose higher, so did the spirit of Christmas inside him, lighting up even the darkest corners of his heart. With his heart bursting open and light flooding every shadowed corner of his soul, the Grinch didn't hesitate. No longer burdened by bitterness or fear, he raced down the steep, snowy slopes of Mount Crumpet, propelled by a powerful mix of hope and remorse. His footsteps, once heavy with isolation, now carried the rhythm of redemption. In his hands he clutched every stolen gift, each one a symbol not of his anger, but of his newfound desire to make amends. Tears, hot and unexpected, streamed down his green cheeks, tears of sorrow for the pain he had caused, but also tears of joy for the chance to be part of something greater. As he burst into the heart of Whoville, eyes wide with disbelief and hearts pounding with anticipation, the Who saw not a thief, but a soul laid bare, seeking forgiveness and connection. His apology was silent but unmistakable in the trembling of his voice, in the sincerity of his smile, and in the gentle act of giving back what he once took. In that moment, the Grinch became more than a legend of mischief. He became a symbol of hope, proof that even the coldest hearts can be warmed by kindness. The town square, once filled with suspicion and whispered fears, now pulsed with a joyous energy that only true forgiveness can ignite. As the Grinch stepped into the glow of Whoville's renewed Christmas feast, he was met not with scorn or cold stares, but with warm smiles and open arms. The Who's, young and old, gathered around him, the once feared outsider, the green shadow on their winter nights, now their honored guest, their unexpected hero. Children reached out to touch his furry hands, elders offered hearty laughs and nods of welcome, and Cindy Lou, whose bright eyes shone with pride. The feast tables groaned under the weight of steaming pies, roasted treats, and sweet delights, but it was the unspoken gift of acceptance that filled the air with the richest flavor. In that moment, the Grinch wasn't just part of Whoville, he was its heart, its spirit made flesh. The walls between them and him crumbled, replaced by a shared celebration of love, community, and the true meaning of Christmas. It was a feast not just of food, but of newfound belonging, a story that would echo through generations as proof that even the loneliest souls can find a home. Seated at the head of the table, the Grinch took up the carving knife with hands that once trembled in anger, but now moved with a gentle purpose. The roast beast. The centerpiece of Whoville's grand feast gleamed under the twinkling lights, a symbol of abundance, celebration, and newfound unity. Around him, laughter bubbled like warm cider, wrapping the room in a cozy embrace that no amount of snow or years of isolation could ever chill. Faces once weary now shone with genuine joy, their eyes reflecting stories of forgiveness and second chances. In this moment, the Grinch was not a monster or an outcast, but a beloved part of the Who's family, proof that even the coldest hearts can thaw when met with kindness. The miracle was not in the stolen gifts returned or the feast laid out, but in the transformation born from acceptance and love. Christmas, in all its glory, had been reborn not just for Whoville, but for one green soul who finally found his place in the light. As the feast wound down and the last carols drifted into the winter night, the Grinch sat back, a genuine smile lighting up his face for the very first time. It wasn't the mischievous grin of a trickster who had stolen Christmas. It was something far deeper, the quiet, radiant smile of a soul reclaimed. After years of bitterness and solitude, after the battles with pain and rejection, the Grinch had finally found what he had been searching for all along. Not the material trappings of a holiday, but a sense of belonging, love, and acceptance. In that simple smile lay the triumph of transformation, the power of forgiveness, and the timeless truth that the greatest gifts we give and receive come from the heart. The Grinch hadn't just saved Christmas, he had found himself. One of the most incredible behind the scenes challenges of How the Grinch Stole Christmas was Jim Carrey's transformation into the iconic Green Misfit. On the first day of filming, the process took a staggering 8 hours of meticulous makeup, prosthetics, and hairstyling to completely transform Carrey into the Grinch's unique and expressive face. Imagine sitting still for that long, with layers of latex and paint being applied while the makeup artists worked their magic. As filming progressed, the team refined the process, cutting the makeup time down to a still impressive 2 hours every day. Despite the grueling routine, Carrey embraced the transformation, channeling the physicality and nuances of the character to bring the Grinch's mischief and eventual heartwarming change to life. This intense dedication not only made the character visually unforgettable, but also added a deeper authenticity to the performance, helping the audience connect with the Grinch beyond just his green fur. One of the most astonishing feats of craftsmanship in How the Grinch Stole Christmas was the creation of the Grinch's signature furry suit. It wasn't just any costume, the entire suit was painstakingly crafted using yak hair dyed a vivid green, each strand carefully selected for texture and color. The real magic was in how the yak hair was applied. It was sewn onto a spandex base, one hair at a time, an incredibly labor-intensive process that took countless hours and demanded extraordinary precision from the costume artists. This painstaking attention to detail gave the Grinch's fur its unique, lifelike quality, full of movement and texture that couldn't be replicated by simple fabric or synthetic fur. When combined with Jim Carrey's expressive performance and the masterful makeup, the suit helped bring to life a character who was both fantastical and deeply believable, making the Grinch's every sneer and smile feel utterly authentic. Jim Carrey famously described the grueling process of becoming the Grinch as pure torture. The hours spent in the heavy prosthetic makeup and the yak hair suit were not just physically exhausting, but also mentally challenging. To cope with the claustrophobic and intense conditions, Carrey sought help from an unexpected source, a CIA torture resistance trainer who taught him mental techniques to endure discomfort and maintain focus. This unconventional preparation helped Carrey push through the long shooting days without losing his energy or commitment to the role. His dedication to embodying the Grinch, both physically and psychologically, is a testament to his craft and why the character feels so vivid and alive on screen. In a heartfelt gesture of support and camaraderie, director Ron Howard didn't just oversee the production of How the Grinch Stole Christmas. From behind the camera, he went a step further to show his solidarity with Jim Carrey's grueling experience. For one full day, Howard donned the entire Grinch costume and makeup, enduring the heavy prosthetics, yak hair suit, and the long hours in the makeup chair. This rare glimpse into the actor's challenging physical transformation was Howard's way of connecting with Carrey on a deeper level, sharing in the discomfort and demonstrating the collaborative spirit that fueled the film. The story became a symbol of the dedication behind the scenes and the respect between director and actor that helped bring the beloved holiday tale to life. The whimsical and vibrant world of Whoville wasn't conjured through CGI or simple backdrops. It was painstakingly built by hand on the sprawling Universal Studios backlot, a place steeped in Hollywood history. What makes this even more fascinating is that the very ground where Whoville's candy cane streets, quirky homes, and festive decorations came to life had previously hosted the elaborate and haunting set of the Phantom of the Opera. This incredible transformation from gothic shadows to cheerful holiday charm speaks volumes about the magic of movie making and the artistry of set designers. Every crooked lamppost, oversized ornament, and color splashed facade was meticulously crafted to create an immersive environment where actors could truly live the story. Walking through Whoville felt like stepping into a storybook, a fantastical place grounded in real textures and details. This dedication to practical sets gave How the Grinch Stole Christmas a tangible warmth and authenticity that CGI alone could never replicate, inviting audiences to believe in the holiday spirit through every frame. One of the most impressive and often overlooked achievements in How the Grinch Stole Christmas was the sheer dedication to bringing every single Who to life with unique, handcrafted detail. The makeup artists faced the monumental task of transforming over 300 background Whos, each requiring their own distinct personality and look. To accomplish this, they didn't rely on generic masks or simple makeup. Instead, every Who received custom prosthetic noses, facial molds, and individualized makeup designs. This painstaking effort ensured that no two Whos looked the same, adding layers of depth and realism to the bustling town scenes. From the smallest child to the elder Who, the diversity in their appearances brought Whoville's population to vibrant life, making the community feel rich, authentic, and believable. This commitment to character detail extended the film's magical atmosphere, immersing viewers fully into the world of Whoville and its joyful inhabitants. The lovable and loyal Max, the Grinch's trusty canine companion, was brought to life by not just one, but 6 different dogs, each expertly trained to handle specific stunts and facial expressions. This clever use of multiple canine actors ensured that every scene featuring Max, from playful antics to heartfelt moments, felt natural and full of personality. Some dogs specialized in physical stunts like pulling the sleigh or navigating tricky terrain, while others excelled at conveying emotion through subtle looks and reactions. The trainers worked closely with the dogs to seamlessly blend their performances, creating a single, unforgettable Max who steals the hearts of audiences alongside the Grinch. This dedication to using real animals added warmth and authenticity to the story, making Max's friendship with the Grinch feel genuine and deeply touching. One of the most vibrant aspects of Jim Carrey's portrayal of the Grinch was his incredible talent for improvisation. While the script laid the foundation, Carrey often ad-libbed many of his lines, infusing the character with spontaneous humor and personality that felt fresh and unpredictable. Notably, the iconic echo scene, where the Grinch's voice bounces hauntingly through his mountain lair, was largely improvised, capturing Carrey's playful creativity and timing. Additionally, his sarcastic monologues in the cave were peppered with on the spot jokes and exaggerated expressions that added depth to the Grinch's complex personality, blending mischief, loneliness, and sharp wit. These moments of improvisation became some of the film's most memorable highlights, showing how Carrey's unique comedic genius elevated the character beyond the page and made the Grinch truly unforgettable. Jim Carrey's brilliance in How the Grinch Stole Christmas wasn't limited to the script. Much of his unforgettable performance came from his spontaneous creativity on set. Known for his quick wit and improvisational genius, Carrey ad-libbed many of his lines, especially in scenes that have since become iconic. Take, for instance, the echoing monologue in The Grinch's Cave, where Carrey's sarcastic, exaggerated voice bouncing off the walls added layers of humor and personality that weren't originally scripted. These moments of improvisation gave the character a lively, unpredictable edge, turning the Grinch into a fully realized, hilarious, and endearing figure that audiences instantly connected with. Carrey's natural comedic instincts and willingness to experiment made the role uniquely his own, infusing the film with energy and charm. On the other hand, the film's narrator, whose voice weaves through the story like a warm holiday blanket, was originally voiced by Anthony Hopkins, a legendary actor who delivered his entire narration in a single day. Hopkins brought a quiet gravitas and storytelling elegance to the narration, adding depth and a timeless quality to the film's fairy tale atmosphere. Though his version was eventually replaced, the fact that such a distinguished actor contributed to the project highlights the film's blend of star power and artistry behind the scenes. To create the enchanting winter wonderland of Whoville, the production team faced the monumental challenge of replicating a perfect snowy Christmas setting that felt both magical and believable. They used a combination of foam snow and glitter-based snow, carefully layering it to achieve the sparkling, pristine look seen throughout the film. But it wasn't just a dusting here and there. The crew spread an astonishing over 50,000 pounds of this synthetic snow across the sets, covering rooftops, streets, and trees to craft a fully immersive winter landscape. This massive effort gave the film its iconic twinkling holiday atmosphere, with the glitter catching the light to create a dazzling effect that seems straight out of a storybook. The scale and detail of this snowy artistry helped transport audiences into the heart of Christmas spirit, making Whoville feel alive with festive wonder. One of the most whimsical props in How the Grinch Stole Christmas was Martha May Whoville's dazzling light shooting machine, a contraption that fires bursts of sparkling Christmas lights with flair. What's truly amazing is that this quirky device wasn't just a static prop. It was fully operational on set, actually shooting real Christmas lights during filming takes. The special effects team engineered the machine to safely emit glowing, flickering lights that added authentic sparkle and motion to the scenes, enhancing Martha May's extravagant holiday decorations. This practical effect brought an extra layer of magic and realism to the film, showing the filmmaker's commitment to blending imaginative design with hands-on craftsmanship to create memorable moments that sparkle literally on screen. Hidden within the colorful, festive world of How the Grinch Stole Christmas are clever Easter eggs that pay homage to classic cinema and delight eagle-eyed viewers. One particularly charming nod appears during the flashback of the baby Grinch's arrival. He's carried not in a typical cradle or basket, but in a floating umbrella, a playful wink to the beloved character Mary Poppins. This subtle detail reveals the filmmaker's love for blending holiday cheer with cinematic history, adding an extra layer of joy for those who catch the reference. Such thoughtful touches enrich the film's storytelling, making it a treasure trove for fans who appreciate both heartwarming tales and clever filmmaking artistry. When How the Grinch Stole Christmas premiered, it faced a wave of mixed reviews from critics, many of whom praised the film's visual creativity but found its tone uneven, oscillating between heartwarming holiday spirit and over-the-top comedic chaos. Yet, despite these critiques, the movie struck a profoundly different chord with audiences. Viewers were captivated by Jim Carrey's chaotic yet lovable performance, where his boundless energy and expressive physicality breathed life into the Grinch like never before. Carrey's ability to blend mischief with vulnerability turned the character from a mere holiday villain into a complex figure whose journey toward redemption felt authentic and engaging. This emotional connection helped the film become a seasonal favorite, inspiring generations to revisit the story year after year and solidifying its place as a modern Christmas classic. Despite the initial mixed critical reception, How the Grinch Stole Christmas went on to become a colossal box office success, shattering expectations and redefining holiday cinema. The film grossed over $345 million worldwide, making it the highest grossing holiday film at the time of its release. This remarkable achievement wasn't just a testament to the enduring popularity of Dr. Seuss's story, but also to the magnetic draw of Jim Carrey's performance and the film's vibrant visual style. Families flocked to theaters every Christmas season, eager to experience the Grinch's mischievous transformation and heartfelt redemption on the big screen. The movie's commercial triumph cemented it as a holiday staple, proving that a blend of humor, heart, and spectacle could resonate powerfully with global audiences and become a beloved seasonal tradition. One of the most celebrated aspects of How the Grinch Stole Christmas is Jim Carrey's masterful physical comedy, often hailed by critics and fans alike as a masterclass in body acting. Despite being encased in heavy prosthetics, a cumbersome yak hair suit, and hours of makeup, Carrey's expressive movements, exaggerated facial expressions, and impeccable timing brought the Grinch vividly to life. His ability to communicate humor, mischief, and emotion through every twitch and gesture transcended the physical barriers of his costume, proving that true acting shines beyond surface appearances. This performance not only elevated the character, but also showcased Carrey's dedication and skill, making the Grinch one of the most iconic and memorable figures in holiday film history. While many critics applauded the film's imaginative visuals and Carrey's standout performance, some took issue with the portrayal of the Who's themselves, describing them as too materialistic in their obsession with extravagant decorations, endless gift exchanges, and larger than life holiday spectacles. To these reviewers, the Who's initially seemed to embody the very consumerism that Christmas is often accused of becoming, potentially diluting the story's message. However, this critique actually underscores a deeper narrative strength. The dramatic transformation of the Who's by the film's end becomes even more powerful and meaningful because of their initial materialism. Their shift from valuing possessions to embracing genuine community, love, and joy highlights the timeless lesson that Christmas spirit transcends gifts and glitz. This contrast creates a satisfying emotional arc, allowing audiences to reflect on their own holiday priorities and reminding us all that true celebration comes from the heart, not the wallet. Beyond its initial theatrical success, How the Grinch Stole Christmas evolved into much more than just a movie. It became a beloved Christmas television staple, ingrained in holiday traditions for countless families across generations. Every December, households would gather around their screens to watch the mischievous Green Grinch's transformation, creating shared memories and passing down the story's lessons year after year. This ritual viewing cemented the film's place not only as entertainment, but as a cultural touchstone that defines the festive season for many. Its enduring presence on TV screens speaks to the film's timeless appeal, blending humor, heart, and spectacle in a way that continues to resonate deeply, reminding viewers young and old about the true spirit of Christmas, community, kindness, and redemption. Among the handful of live action films inspired by Dr. Seuss's imaginative worlds, How the Grinch Stole Christmas stands tall as the most iconic and beloved adaptation in the eyes of many fans and critics alike. While movies like Horton Hears a Who and The Cat in the Hat brought their own flair, they never quite captured the perfect blend of whimsy, heart, and humor that defines The Grinch. This film's success lies in its meticulous world building, Jim Carrey's unforgettable performance, and its faithful yet fresh interpretation of the original story's core message. For many viewers, it's not just a movie, but a seasonal tradition, one that perfectly balances the mischievousness and redemption of its titular character while immersing audiences in a richly detailed Whoville. This enduring popularity cements its status as the definitive Dr. Seuss live action experience, a film that continues to charm, entertain, and inspire with every holiday season. One of the film's most emotionally resonant moments comes through Cindy Lou Who's heartfelt ballad, Where Are You Christmas? This song, performed by Faith Hill in the movie, struck a chord far beyond the screen, becoming a charting hit that touched listeners worldwide. Interestingly, the song was co-written by none other than Mariah Carey, the queen of Christmas pop, alongside celebrated composer James Horner, whose lush orchestration gave the track its soaring cinematic quality. Together, they crafted a melody and lyrics that capture Cindy Lou's longing to find the true spirit of Christmas amid the glitter and noise. The song's success helped deepen the film's emotional impact and cemented Cindy Lou's character as the pure-hearted catalyst for change within Whoville, making it a lasting anthem of hope and holiday reflection. More than 2 decades after its release, How the Grinch Stole Christmas 2000 remains etched in the collective holiday consciousness, not merely as a tale of green mischief and clever theft, but as a timeless lesson wrapped in laughter and warmth. The film's heart lies in its message that love, kindness, and the power of second chances are the true gifts of Christmas, far beyond any decorations or presents. Through the Grinch's journey from bitter outcast to beloved community member, audiences are reminded that redemption is possible for everyone, and that the spirit of the season blossoms most brightly when we open our hearts to forgiveness and connection. This enduring wisdom continues to inspire new generations, making the movie a cherished cornerstone of Christmas traditions worldwide. The musical backbone of How the Grinch Stole Christmas is a brilliant composition by the late James Horner, whose score masterfully balances whimsy and emotional depth. Horner's music dances between playful, light-hearted melodies that reflect the mischievous antics of the Grinch and the joyful spirit of Whoville, and sweeping, poignant swells that echo the Grinch's inner turmoil and eventual transformation. This dynamic score enhances the storytelling, giving voice to the unspoken feelings beneath the Grinch's gruff exterior and elevating key moments of warmth and redemption. Complemented by a carefully curated soundtrack, including the evocative Where Are You Christmas? The music immerses audiences in a richly layered auditory experience, making the film's emotional beats resonate long after the credits roll. Jim Carrey's commitment to authenticity in How the Grinch Stole Christmas went far beyond his comedic genius. He insisted on performing many of his own physical stunts, even while encumbered by the heavy, restrictive makeup and yak hair covered Grinch suit. This dedication was especially evident in the memorable sleigh chase scenes, where Carrey's agility and expressive body language added a dynamic, kinetic energy that CGI or stunt doubles could never replicate. Enduring the discomfort and heat of his costume, Carrey's physicality injected a raw, visceral intensity into these moments, blending humor and suspense seamlessly. His willingness to dive headfirst into physically demanding scenes, despite the grueling conditions, showcased his professionalism and helped make the Grinch's mischievous antics feel vibrant and real. On screen, the Grinch's lair, a centerpiece of the film's eerie yet whimsical atmosphere, was brought to life on a massive soundstage specially constructed to mimic a cave high atop Mount Crumpit. This set wasn't just a static backdrop. It was a fully immersive environment loaded with practical effects that added layers of realism and texture. From the slow dripping of water echoing through unseen crevices to gentle puffs of steam rising mysteriously from rocky vents, every detail was crafted to envelop both actors and audiences in the Grinch's isolated, brooding world. This meticulous design allowed Jim Carrey and the crew to interact with their surroundings in authentic ways, grounding the film's fantastical elements in tangible reality. The lair's haunting ambience played a crucial high above the cheerful town of Whoville. nestled among the jagged snow-covered cliffs of Mount Crumpet, lives a creature unlike any other, the Grinch. With matted green fur, piercing yellow eyes, and a heart long believed to be 2 sizes too small, the Grinch isolates himself from the world in a cold, echoing cave carved into the mountainside. From his lonely perch, he gazes down with disdain at the bustling village below, where the Who's are already deep in their joyful preparations for Christmas. Lights twinkle, songs fill the air, and laughter spills from every home, a cacophony of holiday spirit that only deepens the Grinch's bitterness. It's not just the noise or the cheer he despises, it's what it reminds him of: a past riddled with pain, rejection, and a longing for acceptance that he has since buried beneath layers of sarcasm and self imposed exile. To the Who's, Christmas is a season of togetherness and generosity. But to the Grinch, it is a yearly reminder that he does not belong, that joy is something others get to have, not him. And so, cloaked in shadows and cynicism, he watches, plotting and brooding, convinced that if he can't feel the warmth of the season, no one else should either. Whoville, with its candy-colored houses, twinkling lights, and round-the-clock caroling, appears on the surface to be the very embodiment of holiday cheer. The townspeople bustle through the snowy streets with arms full of gifts, their hearts set on decorating, shopping, and throwing the grandest Christmas celebration yet. The air is thick with the scent of roasted feasts and sugary treats, and every corner echoes with joyful songs. Yet beneath the glittering surface lies a quiet irony, a society so wrapped up in the spectacle of the season that the deeper meaning of Christmas often gets lost in the noise. The Who's, in their eagerness to outdo one another, have come to equate joy with material abundance and celebration with elaborate pageantry. This obsession stands in sharp, painful contrast to the cold isolation of the Grinch, perched in his cave above them. While they drown in consumerism masked as tradition, he watches from the shadows, unloved, unseen, and growing ever more convinced that Christmas is nothing more than a hollow, noisy performance. The divide between Whoville's dazzling excess and the Grinch's frigid solitude becomes more than physical. It's an emotional chasm that questions what the season truly means. In the heart of Whoville, amidst the whirlwind of shopping bags, dazzling tinsel, and endless carols, stands young Cindy Lou, who is a small girl with wide eyes and a heart full of quiet wisdom. While the rest of the town rushes to prepare for the grand festivities, swept up in contests, gift exchanges, and lighting ceremonies, Cindy feels something missing beneath all the glitter and noise. Her questions are simple yet profound. Is this what Christmas is really about? She watches as adults scramble to buy the biggest presents and decorate the tallest trees, yet rarely pause to reflect or connect. Unlike the others, Cindy is not enchanted by the spectacle. She is stirred by curiosity and compassion. Her innocence gives her clarity, allowing her to see through the shiny surface of Whoville's traditions in search of something deeper, something honest. To her, the warmth of Christmas should come from kindness, not consumerism, from hearts, not shopping carts. And as she hears whispers of a strange green figure living alone above the town, her heart is drawn not to fear, but to understanding. In a world obsessed with appearances, Cindy begins a quiet rebellion of the soul, one that could change everything. As the townspeople of Whoville continue their whirlwind of holiday preparations, Cindy Lou, who finds herself increasingly fixated not on the presents or the pageants, but on the figure everyone else pretends doesn't exist, the Grinch. Whispers of him echo through the snowy streets like ghost stories, each tale more exaggerated than the last. Children are warned to stay away, and adults hush his name with nervous laughter or outright denial. But Cindy isn't convinced by the fear that surrounds him. The few fleeting glimpses she's caught, the hunched shoulders, the brooding eyes, the distant sighs from Mount Crumpet, speak not of evil, but of deep, unhealed hurt. She begins to wonder who the Grinch really is, and more importantly, what happened to make him so angry, so alone. While the town chooses fear and ridicule, Cindy chooses empathy. Her young heart, untouched by prejudice, senses a truth hidden behind his snarling mask, not a monster, but a wounded soul. And so her curiosity becomes a quiet mission, not just to learn about the Grinch, but to understand him, and maybe, just maybe, to reach out to the one heart Whoville left behind. Beneath the Grinch's bitter sneer and hardened shell lies a past few know, and even fewer care to remember, a past filled with laughter, longing, and heartbreak. As Cindy digs deeper, the truth begins to surface. The Grinch was not always a recluse in a cave, snarling at joy. He was once a child, bright eyed, eager, and full of wonder. Adopted and raised by elderly Whos, he tried desperately to fit in, to be seen not for his green skin or odd mannerisms, but for the heart he carried within. He crafted handmade gifts, mimicked holiday traditions, and even harbored a childhood crush on the radiant Martha May. But Whoville, with its fixation on perfection and appearances, was unkind to one who looked different. Teased relentlessly, mocked for every flaw, and ridiculed most cruelly after a young, hopeful act of vulnerability, the Grinch snapped. That one humiliating moment, a broken ornament, a laugh too loud, a sneer too sharp, was enough to convince him that love was conditional and belonging was a lie. Wounded beyond words, he fled to Mount Crumpet, turning his back on the town that had turned its back on him. From that day forward, joy became his enemy, and pain became his armor. What Whoville sees as a monster is, in truth, the scars of a child who simply wanted to be accepted. The heart of the Grinch's pain, the deep unspoken wound that fueled years of bitterness, was not just the mockery or the taunts, but the cruel distortion of something pure, his love. As a child, the Grinch had fallen for Martha May Whovier, a bright, graceful girl whose kindness stood out amidst the crowd. For a brief moment, he believed that perhaps he too could be part of the joy that filled Whoville, that someone like Martha might see past his green fur and unusual ways. Determined to impress her, he poured his entire heart into crafting a homemade Christmas gift, a tender token of affection wrapped in innocence. But when he dared to show up at school with it freshly shaved and full of hope, he was met not with admiration, but with laughter. The class jeered at his appearance, mocking his clumsy effort to fit in. His handmade gift shattered on the floor, just as his fragile sense of belonging did. The cruel chorus of childish ridicule, led by none other than the smug Augustus Mayhew, was the final blow. Humiliated, heartbroken, and filled with shame, the young Grinch fled into the snowy mountains, leaving behind not just the gift, but any desire to be part of Whoville. That day, love became a source of pain, and the Grinch buried it deep beneath layers of anger and exile, vowing never again to be vulnerable, never again to be hurt. Now older and deeply scarred by years of isolation, the Grinch lives high above Whoville in a cold, cavernous lair, carved into the cliffs of Mount Crumpet, a world of shadows that mirrors the darkness he carries within. The silence is broken only by the distant echoes of Whoville's cheer, which sting his ears like mockery. Yet in this hollowed-out cave, filled with bitter inventions and sarcastic grumblings, one light remains, a small, scruffy dog named Max. Max, ever loyal, stays by the Grinch's side through every outburst and scheme, offering affection in the face of rejection, patience in the face of fury. Though the Grinch grumbles and barks orders, Max sees what the world refuses to, the flicker of goodness that still glows beneath the bitterness. In moments when the Grinch believes no one is watching, he hums softly, chuckles at Max's antics, or shows flashes of care, moments so brief he hardly notices them himself. Max, undeterred by his master's moods, is the sole witness to the fragments of humanity still clinging to the Grinch's soul. In a world that has judged and forgotten him, it is this humble dog who loves him without condition, standing as proof that even the most broken hearts are not beyond saving. In a move that shocks Whoville to its festive core, young Cindy Lou, who steps onto the grand stage of tradition and dares to challenge it. While the town prepares to crown their usual pick for Holiday Cheermeister, a title reserved for the most spirited and beloved citizen, Cindy sees an opportunity to do something that truly embodies the spirit of Christmas forgiveness, inclusion, and healing. With innocence and bravery that belies her age, she nominates the last person anyone expected, the Grinch. Gasps ripple through the crowd. Murmurs of disapproval rise like static. The idea is unthinkable to most. How could a creature so cruel, so angry, ever represent the joy of the season? But Cindy stands firm, her voice unwavering. She doesn't see a monster. She sees a soul long cast out, one who needs Christmas, not for the gifts or the lights, but for the love he was once denied. Her gesture is more than a nomination, it's a lifeline, an invitation back into a community that had turned its back on him. For Cindy, choosing the Grinch isn't about breaking rules, it's about rewriting them. It's about daring to believe that even the most wounded heart can be welcomed home. And with that act of defiance wrapped in compassion, she sets into motion a chain of events that will change Whoville and the Grinch forever. The Grinch, crouched deep within the shadows of his cold lair, hears the news like a whisper carried on the wind. He's been chosen as the holiday cheermeister. At first he laughs, a sharp, bitter sound that echoes through the cave like broken glass. Surely it's a prank, another cruel joke played at his expense. His rage bubbles to the surface, memories of childhood humiliation flooding back like a storm. But then, something unexpected flickers behind his yellow eyes. Curiosity. Cindy Lou, whose face lingers in his mind, not mocking, not afraid, but earnest and warm. Her nomination wasn't made in jest, it was real. For perhaps the first time since he was a child, someone had looked past the fangs, the fury, the legend, and seen the lonely figure beneath. The thought unsettles him, threatens the fortress he's built around his heart. And so, torn between the temptation to sabotage the event and the ache of long buried longing, the Grinch finds himself hesitantly preparing to descend into Whoville. He tells Max it's for mockery, for mischief. But even he can't ignore the quiet tug in his chest, the small, reluctant hope that maybe, just maybe, being included might not be the worst thing after all. At the bustling heart of the Whoville Festival, surrounded by twinkling lights and the chorus of cheerful carols, the Grinch steps hesitantly into a world he's long rejected. For a fleeting moment, the cold walls of bitterness that have shielded him begin to crack. He hears laughter, not the mocking kind, but genuine, warm laughter. Children smile at him without fear, and even the adults, hesitant at first, offer nods of cautious welcome. The vibrant colors, the smells of roasting chestnuts, and the collective joy of the crowd stirs something deep within him, a spark of belonging he thought lost forever. For a brief, shining instant, he feels part of something greater than himself, caught in the gentle embrace of community and festivity. But just as the Grinch's guarded heart starts to soften, a cruel prank shatters the fragile peace. A hidden taunt, a whispered insult from a figure of his past, slices through the joyful noise like a knife. The trauma he painstakingly buried beneath years of anger and isolation resurfaces with a vengeance, flooding his mind with memories of ridicule and rejection. The laughter turns harsh, the smiles fade, and the Grinch is overwhelmed by a tidal wave of old pain. Unable to bear the weight of it all, he lashes out, shattering decorations and extinguishing lights, a desperate cry of anguish that sends the festival spiraling into chaos. In that devastating moment, the fragile hope of acceptance is crushed, and the Grinch retreats once again to the solitude of his mountain lair, his heart heavier and colder than ever. Under the mounting pressure of old wounds reopened and new hopes dashed, the Grinch's fragile composure shatters like glass. The warmth he briefly felt twists into a searing fire of anger and shame, fueling an explosive outburst. In a whirlwind of fury, he tears through the festival decorations. Strings of lights snap, wreaths are ripped from doorways, and ornaments crash to the ground in a glittering ruin. The joyful hum of celebration turns to stunned silence as the townsfolk watch in disbelief. At the center of it all stands the mayor, once a symbol of order and festivity, now the unwilling target of the Grinch's wrath. The creature's pointed fingers and snarling words humiliate the mayor before the crowd, exposing years of resentment that had festered in silence. In this moment of chaos, the Grinch's heart, which had tentatively begun to thaw, closes tighter than ever, encased once again in a fortress of bitterness and isolation. Retreating into the shadows, he carries with him not just the weight of his actions, but the crushing certainty that he will never belong. never be truly accepted by Whoville or its people. Back on the cold, jagged cliffs of Mount Crumpet, the Grinch slams the door to his lair behind him, the echoes of the shattered festival still ringing in his ears. His chest heaves with rage and humiliation, each breath a storm of bitter resolve. The brief flicker of hope that had dared to glow within him is now snuffed out, replaced by a fierce, burning hatred, not just for the Who's, but for the very spirit of Christmas they celebrate so blindly. In the darkness of his cavernous retreat, the Grinch paces with clenched fists, eyes blazing with venomous intent. He mutters to himself, a vow twisted by years of loneliness and pain. If they will not accept him, then he will make sure they understand the true meaning of emptiness. Christmas, their noisy, bright, festive holiday, will be stripped away, stolen from every Who home, every Who heart. He will take their presents, their trees, their carols, their lights, leave nothing but silence and cold. Only then, he believes, will the Who's learn what it feels like to live with a heart as empty and broken as his own. This dark declaration marks the birth of a plan so audacious and cruel, it will change Whoville forever, the Grinch's ultimate act of vengeance, born from the deepest corners of his shattered soul. With a grim determination burning in his eyes, the Grinch enlists his loyal companion Max, the only creature who has ever stood by his side through years of solitude and bitterness. Together, they set to work crafting a sleigh from scavenged scraps, an odd, creaky contraption that creaks and groans under the weight of the Grinch's vengeful resolve. Next comes the disguise, a tattered red Santa suit stitched and worn, complete with a floppy hat and a beard that barely conceals his scowl. As the cold night air settles over Whoville, the Grinch dons his costume, transforming into a twisted shadow of holiday cheer. With Max pulling the sleigh, ears drooping but obedient, they glide silently down the snowy slopes of Mount Crumpet and into the heart of Whoville. Under the cover of darkness, the Grinch slides down chimneys with eerie precision, his long green fingers snatching stockings, gifts, ornaments, and lights with ruthless efficiency. The once bright windows darken one by one as the festive spirit is methodically stripped away, leaving behind a chilling silence. Each stolen treasure is not just a prize, but a calculated strike against the joyous noise of Whoville, a cruel attempt to steal the happiness that has long eluded him. In this night of quiet destruction, the Grinch believes he holds the power to crush Christmas itself, to leave the Who's with nothing but emptiness, just as he has always known. As the Grinch slides back up the snowy roofs after his final theft, a cold, triumphant smile curls across his lips. The last twinkle of light is snuffed out, the final present tucked away into his sleigh, and the chimneys stand empty and silent. He gazes over the quiet town below, convinced that his mission is complete, that come dawn, Whoville will awaken not to joy, but to sorrow, confusion, and loss. He believes this absence of holiday cheer will force the Who's to understand the deep ache that has hollowed his own heart for so long. In his mind, this act of thievery is not just revenge, but a necessary lesson, a way to share the loneliness and pain he has endured in silence. The Grinch settles into the dark, cold night, certain that the emptiness he has created will finally bring the town and himself to a reckoning. As the first pale light of dawn creeps over the horizon, the Grinch stands atop Mount Crumpet, clutching the last of the stolen treasures in his grasp. His breath forms icy clouds in the cold morning air, and a cruel smile tugs at the corners of his mouth. He watches below, certain that Whoville will awaken to a bleak and joyless Christmas, empty homes, silent streets, and shattered spirits. In his mind, the townspeople will finally feel the deep ache of loss that has haunted him for so long, understanding the hollow emptiness he has carried within his own heart. Triumph swells inside him, dark and intoxicating. But what unfolds next shatters every expectation. From the depths of the town square, a soft murmur grows, voices rising in unison, gentle and pure. The Who's, without a single present or decoration, gather hand in hand, their faces glowing not with disappointment, but with unwavering warmth. They sing, their harmonies weaving through the crisp air, a song of love, unity, and hope. Their joy is not tied to gifts or glittering lights, but to the very spirit of togetherness and kindness that Christmas truly embodies. The Grinch watches, stunned and speechless, as the walls he built around his heart begin to crumble. In this unexpected moment, he realizes that the true magic of Christmas cannot be stolen because it lives deep within the hearts of those who believe. The Grinch stands frozen atop Mount Crumpit, his breath caught in his throat as the melody of the Who's joyous singing washes over the silent, snow covered town below. For the first time in what feels like an eternity, the icy fortress encasing his heart begins to thaw. The cold bitterness and anger that had fueled his every thought start to melt away, replaced by a strange warmth, fragile but undeniable. He watches in stunned disbelief as the Who's, deprived of every decoration, every gift, and every sparkle of their usual Christmas pageantry, still find a reason to celebrate. Their laughter rings out clear and pure, not from possessions, but from the unbreakable bonds of love, hope, and community. In that miraculous moment, the Grinch feels his heart expand, swelling not with hatred or sorrow, but with the newfound understanding that Christmas is so much more than the things he sought to steal. His loneliness, his pain, and his anger dissolve just enough to allow a seed of kindness to take root. This is no longer the story of a creature defined by bitterness, but the beginning of a profound transformation, a rebirth fueled by the simple, powerful truth that love and connection are the greatest gifts of all. As the echoes of the Who's joyful song wrap around him like a warm embrace, the Grinch feels a profound shift deep within his chest. It begins as a subtle flutter, a gentle stirring where once only emptiness and bitterness resided. Slowly, almost painfully, his heart expands, growing 3 sizes larger than he ever thought possible. The icy walls that had guarded his loneliness crumble away, and for the first time, tears stream freely down his green cheeks. These tears carry not just sorrow, but the weight of years spent isolated and misunderstood. In this vulnerable moment, clarity dawns. What he truly craved was never the stolen presents or the decorations, but the simple, healing power of love, forgiveness, and a place to belong. He understands now that the Who's spirit could not be broken because it was built on kindness and connection gifts he had denied himself for so long. His transformation is more than physical. It is a rebirth of hope and humanity, opening a path from darkness into light. For the Grinch, this awakening is the most precious gift of all, a chance to be part of a community that embraces him, flaws and all. With his heart swelling and tears still fresh upon his face, the Grinch races down the snowy slopes of Mount Crumpit, the stolen treasures piled high in his sleigh. Each beat of his enlarged heart quickens his pace, fueled by a desperate hope for redemption. He anticipates the harsh words, the scorn, the fury of a town he tried to wound so deeply. But as he arrives in Whoville, the scene that unfolds defies every expectation. Instead of anger, the Who's greet him with open arms and warm smiles. Their eyes shine with forgiveness, their voices filled with kindness rather than condemnation. They do not see the green thief who tried to steal their Christmas, but a soul reborn, someone who has learned the true meaning of love and community. The Grinch feels a wave of relief and humility crash over him as the walls he built around himself crumble completely. This grace, this unconditional acceptance, fills the emptiness that once consumed him, healing wounds he thought were eternal. In this moment, the Grinch discovers that belonging is not earned through perfection, but through the courage to change and the willingness of others to forgive. It is a profound lesson that transforms him forever and seals his place within the heart of Whoville. Surrounded by the warmth and laughter of the Who's, the Grinch experiences a profound sense of belonging that had eluded him for so long. For the very first time in years, he sits at a bustling table, not as an outcast lurking in the shadows, but as a welcomed guest embraced by genuine friendship and acceptance. The rich aromas of the roast beast fill the air, a symbol not just of the festive feast, but of the new bonds being forged. With trembling hands, he takes up the carving knife, carefully slicing the roast beast, a simple act, that signifies his full return to the community he once shunned. As he passes the slices around, his eyes meet those of the Who's, who look at him with kindness and understanding rather than judgment. In that moment, the Grinch's notorious scowl fades away, replaced by a smile that radiates pure, unguarded joy. This smile isn't born from mischief or self interest, but from a heart finally open to love, forgiveness, and the simple beauty of togetherness. It is a true Christmas miracle, not of gifts or glitter, but of redemption and the powerful human capacity to change. The story closes not on a note of bitterness or isolation, but with the profound transformation of a once broken soul who discovers peace, belonging, and redemption. The Grinch, who had lived years shrouded in anger and solitude, now stands embraced by a community that has welcomed him, not despite his flaws, but because of his willingness to change. His journey from resentment to love underscores a timeless truth. No matter how frozen or fractured a heart may be, it can be thawed and healed through compassion, forgiveness, and the unifying spirit of the holidays. This enduring tale is a celebration of the magic that lives in connection and kindness, reminding us all that even the coldest, most guarded hearts can find warmth and light when touched by a little holiday magic. Thanks so much for diving into the heartwarming story of how the Grinch stole Christmas with me. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the movie's themes, behind the scenes facts, and timeless message, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more stories and movie breakdowns. Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your favorite Grinch moment or what Christmas means to you. Until next time, keep spreading kindness and holiday magic.